Confusion is the order of the day at the party. The hobbits run to and fro, wondering where Bilbo has run off to. In the distance, Bilbo, in his invisible state, makes his way back into Bag End, and with a chuckle on his lips, he takes the ring off, flicks it, and puts it into his waistcoat pocket. He makes his way around his home, preparing what's left of his packing for the long journey ahead. And yet, without him realizing it, Gandalf appears, with him saying, "I suppose you think that was terribly clever." "Oh, come on, Gandalf. Did you see their faces?" "There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly." "Oh, it was just a bit of fun." "Oh, you're probably right, as usual." "You will keep an eye on Frodo, won't you?" "2 eyes, as often as I can spare them." "I'm leaving everything to him."
"And what about this ring of yours? Is that staying too?"
Yes, it's in an envelope over there on the mantelpiece." "No, wait, it's here in my pocket." Isn't that odd now? Yet after all, why not? Why shouldn't I keep it?
"I think you've had that ring long enough, and you should leave it behind. Is that so hard?"
"Well, no. And yes, now it comes to it, I don't think I like parting with it. It's mine, I found it came to me."
"There's no need to get angry."
"Well, if I'm angry, it's your fault." "It's mine. My own. My precious."
"Precious? It's been called that before, but not by you."
What business is it of yours what I do with my own things?"
"I think you've had that ring quite long enough."
"You want it for yourself."
"Bilbo Baggins! Do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks. I am not trying to rob you. I'm trying to help you. All your long years, we've been friends. Trust me as you once did. Let it go."
"You're right, Gandalf. The ring must go to Frodo. It's late. The road is long. Yes, it is time."
"Bilbo, the ring is still in your pocket."
"Ah, yes." Bilbo reaches for the ring inside of his waistcoat pocket. When he takes a one last look at it, with great pain and great effort, he tilts his hand, and the ring falls out, and with a mighty thud crashes to the floor. Bilbo hurriedly steps outside of Bag End and takes a deep breath. "I've thought of an ending for my book." And he lived happily ever after, to the end of his days.
"And I'm sure you will, my dear friend.
Goodbye, Gandalf."
"Goodbye, dear Bilbo."
Bilbo walks out of his gate and makes his way down the road going east, singing, "The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began," with Gandalf back in frame.
"Until our next meeting."
Gandalf goes back inside Bag End and takes a look at the ring on the floor. He makes a reach for it, and with a sudden flash, the Eye of Sauron appears before him. Surprised, Gandalf does not pick up the ring, and instead makes his way inside the study and begins to smoke, deep in thought. With the voice of Bilbo still ringing in his ears about calling it his precious, Gandalf mutters,
"Riddles in the dark."
The door is flung open, and Frodo arrives. "Bilbo! Bilbo!" He's gone, hasn't he? He talked for so long about leaving. I didn't think he'd really do it. Gandalf?
"Bilbo's ring. He's gone to stay with the elves. He's left you Bag End, with all his possessions. The ring is yours now. Put it somewhere out of sight."
"Where are you going?"
"There are some things that I must see to."
"What things?"
"Questions. Questions that need answering."
"But you've only just arrived. I don't understand."
"Neither do I. Keep it secret. Keep it safe."
Gandalf hurriedly makes his way out of Bag End, out of shot. The next scene details Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower, and screeches coming out of it. The shrill moan of Gollum himself. "Sire! Baggins!" Mount Doom erupts, and out of the gates of Minas Morgul, 9 riders make their way out on black horses. Gandalf, on the next shot, makes his way down to the great city of Minas Tirith. He can see that the mountain of doom continues to erupt. Naturally, taking this as an evil portent, Gandalf rides into the city and is hurriedly brought down into an ancient library and shifts through many great papers. He suddenly comes across an ancient accounting.
The year 3434 of the Second Age. Here follows the account of Isildur, High King of Gondor, and the finding of the Ring of Power. It has come to me, the One Ring. It shall be an heirloom of my kingdom. All those who follow in my bloodline shall be bound to its fate, for I will risk no hurt to the ring. It is precious to me, though I buy it with great pain. The markings on the band begin to fade. The writing, which was first as clear as red flame, has all but disappeared. A secret now that only fire can tell.
The 9 riders begin to approach the outskirts of the Shire, with one rider approaching a small hobbit as he prepares firewood for his family. With great fear across the hobbit's face, the Nazgul, the great dark rider, whispers to him, "Shire, Baggins."
There's no Bagginses here. They're all up in Hobbiton. That way!
The horse brays, and the 9 riders begin to make their way deeper into the Shire. We have a shot of the front of the Green Dragon. The hobbits are singing, and Frodo is moving around in the happy atmosphere, bringing more drinks over to a table. At this table is a mixture of hobbits, some of good stead, alongside Sam's father, the old Gaffer, with the first hobbit remarking, "There's been some strange folk crossing the Shire, dwarves and others of a less than savoury nature. War is brewing. The mountains are fair teeming with goblins. Far-off tales and children's stories, that all is. You're beginning to sound like that old Bilbo Baggins, cracked he was." The Gaffer laughs. "Young Mr. Frodo here, he's cracking." Frodo makes his way over and plops all the drinks onto the table, and proud of it. "Cheers, Gaffer." "Ah, cheers." "Aye, well, it's none of our concern what goes on beyond our borders. Keep your nose out of trouble, and no trouble will come to you." The night begins to wrap up, and hobbits start miling out of the Green Dragon, with Rosie Cotton, of course, taking care of everyone's refreshments, and everyone bidding her a good night. Sam, of course, in a more fearful way, wishes her a good night, not meeting her eyes. Another hobbit gets down on his knees and says, "Good night, sweet maiden of the golden ale." Back to Sam. "Ah, boy, mind your sweet talking." "Don't worry, Sam. Rosie knows an idiot when she sees one." "Does she?" Frodo and Sam continue along the main path nearby Bag End. Frodo pats Sam on the back. "Good night, Sam." "Good night, Mr. Frodo." Frodo makes his way inside Bag End. However, something seems to be amiss. It's unusually dark, and a dread starts to appear over Frodo's face. A hand appears from the darkness and grabs him from his shoulder, spinning him around. It's Gandalf.
"Is it secret? Is it safe?"
Frodo rummages around in a nearby trunk and pulls out the envelope containing the One Ring. Gandalf grabs it and tosses it into the nearby fireplace. "What are you doing?" Yet, it seems no damage has come to the ring, minus the fact the envelope is completely burnt. Gandalf picks it up with the nearby pliers.
"Hold out your hand, Frodo. It's quite cool. What can you see? Can you see anything?"
"Nothing. There's nothing." "Wait. There are markings. It's some form of Elvish. I can't read it."
"There are few who can. The language is that of Mordor, which I will not utter here." "Mordor?" "In the common tongue, it says, 1 ring to rule them all. 1 ring to find them. 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them."